Hi, Mike DePung here, and I'm glad you're with me today. In fact, if you are here on the day that I produce this video, you're here on William Shakespeare's birthday. I ain't no William Shakespeare, that's for sure. But I do value very much his work. He had such an incredible insight into who and what we are as human beings. And that is one of my primary reasons for believing the way I believe, for writing the way I write. It's that we need to discover self. We need to awaken to a spiritual consciousness, a spiritual awakening to who we are as a human being, that we are expressions of spirit incarnate. And I want to read two poems today that kind of have to do with this. Um, and I kind of actually directly have to do with this. And I want to make it clear because when I was rereading these, I thought, well, if somebody doesn't really listen closely or read closely, they might think I'm anti-science, and I am not anti-science. I am amazed by it. But I did have, and because of my shamanic uh, interests, I won't say interest, because of my shamanic spirit and way of life, um, I do see magic all around me. And this morning, I had two birds that are very distinctly um, messengers. Sometimes you can just see a bird as a bird, but you know when you look at something and you ask it a question uh, like, "What do you want to say to me?" And there's some kind of um, abnormal response or abnormal incident that there's probably messages there, and those are important. And that's how I came up on or wrote these two. That was the basis for the two poems I'm going to read to you today. This morning, though, a cardinal appeared to me, and cardinal, the base energy of a cardinal is show your colors and sing your song. And I could talk about that for a little bit, but the other one after that, and I have not seen a crow for a while in terms of having a message for me, but this morning a crow swooped in quietly. And that is, to me, that's an abnormal thing because crows are always letting their voice be heard. Um, it swept in and landed about 15 feet away from me on the top of a little evergreen tree, like a shrubbery type evergreen. And it could barely stay there because it was so heavy for the wispy bit of top that it landed on. It looked straight at me. And I said, "Oh, hello. Do you have something for me?" And he kind of flapped his wings again and looked at me and took off. And I went, "Yeah, I'm going to have to see what you have for me." And as I looked into it, it became clear as I read about Crow once again, which I do often. Um, I use certain books as if they are, or a set of oracle cards that have guidebooks with them. But what stood out to me about Crow this morning was to be a sentinel, be a watchman, because that's what crows will do for one another, and watch for the magic and share that. Make sure that that is known, that the sentinel cries out, there's magic there. Each of us are magic. Each of us can see the magic around us if we want to, but we need to get quiet and listen to our heart and still the voice of ego and come up with whatever the message is our heart would communicate to us so that we can live our highest self, live in happiness, live in, yes, with challenges, with difficulties and hardships, but no, we've got a resource. It's inside of us. We can find help in other places, but it's inside of us. So, anyway, I want to get to the poems. And here is the first one that I entitle Upon Receiving a DNA Report. Know yourself. It's interesting that I made that the subtitle. Um, so here it is. Deoxyribonucleic acid, DNA, amazing coding of life. Before Watson and Crick discovered the double helix strands of life in 1953, we existed. We required no knowledge of the specifics and complex chemistry of life in order to live, nor did we require it. Nor did we require it to know our common heritage, unity, destiny, and source. We do not require the facts of DNA and genetic sequencing to teach us of our connections to one another. Civilized minds in a civilized world would prove, if traced as accurately and mapped as assiduously as Watson Crick et al. Sussed out the science of DNA, and as their followers unraveled the corollaries of RNA, mRNA, mtDNA, yes, civilization would prove, if it breathed from heart, the intellect and understanding, this pummeled thought of ourselves for all to see and use. Yet, civil life, inspiring and expiring ego, has taught us corollaries not related to this science. In fact, civil life smears defiance on the face of science. In fact, civil life bellows air of hatred on the collective of humanity, flaming lies of division, inferiority, superiority, of nationalism, new or old, hatred, fear, and war. The ego of civil life forged ignorance in place of science. Knowledge, true knowledge, rooted in deeper energies than scientists sometimes know, their roots and discoveries bearing fruit. For they have drawn from wells deeper than math and equations and models and theories. Science that tends to discovery of self derives from heart. I'm sorry. Science that tends to discovery of self derives from heart connections to one another, to Mother Earth, to her environments and ecosystems and species, to all flora and fauna, to us. Search the codes, for the science shows what the good philosophers know, have known long before the discovery of DNA. All of one intricate woven work, the warp and woof containing the variegated patterns of both uncivil life and messy divinity. Evolving divinity may be messy indeed, tracing the paths of exploration that lead to discovery of you and me and us. And that's the poem. And the point of it is that science is a tool to help us know ourselves. And it helps us know ourselves in really great ways, along with, depends on the branch of science that we're talking about. And it's something to be valued. But when ego gets hold of some of this stuff, or when ego rejects some of this stuff, it says, well, this is what civil life, you obey the rules, you follow what other people expect you to do and to be, you live up to their standards. I'm for uncivil life, not chaos, but uncivil life, maybe chaos within me or from me, but a civil life, an uncivil life, and messy divinity, I wrote there, is where we learn to know self and then to know and reach out to one another. In this day and age, with what's going on in this nation right now and in others, we need more than ever to understand who we are so that we don't have to fear the other, because we know that the other and I, we are the same at core essence, at core self. We are love. We are heart. We are spirit. And I dress my spirit differently than you dress yours. And that's the way it should be. That's part of the great fun of coming here, part of the great joy. To hate somebody who doesn't look like me or act like me or think like me, that's civil life. Civil life says, well, here, if you want to live within our society, this is the way you have to be. Bullshit. So, having said that, I want to read the second poem that is related to this, and it's entitled Dry Bones. Dry bones betray little about human identity, maybe a woman or man, but apart from DNA testing, one would be hard-pressed to say much more. Certainly not what color or ethnicity of the bearer of the bones, at least in a cursory examination. However, they have deeper stories to tell, stories of journeys and destinations, of why their divine creators left them where they were. Spirit cries from the bones, many wounds, much healing, Do my bones care? Will this essence of humanity and spirit sense the other spirit's cries? They cry the big lesson. The past is not past if we call for healing. The bones cry out from the stones on which they lay. Does anyone question the cry of the bones? Can stones and bones cry out? For the stones will cry out. Woe to him that builds a city by bloodshed and establishes a town by iniquity. Woe is the United States. Come from the four winds, O breath, and breathe upon these slain that they may live. Resurrection sings. Healing, the bones cry. Healing, do not forget the untended wounds. No healing, no joy, no peace, no justice, no knowing. We spirits of the bones live. We will not be forgotten. Each bone a prophet. So that poem I wrote after being on, having visited the Trail of Tears State Park here in Missouri, where I live. And I sensed from being there where the indigenous peoples, especially the Cherokee, but many others too, from Tennessee were forced westward to Oklahoma, eventually to the reservations, and many died along the way, and their bones were left in different places. And I read about this, and this is what I could hear. Again, when you're tuned in to spirit energies, you can't do it. It's not just making up. This isn't just imagination. Um, but when you're tuned into spirit energy, you can hear the energies, the spirits of others, dead or alive, plant or animal, organic or inorganic. It's there. If you want to know how to read yourself, listen to your own heart. Get quiet again, like I said a few minutes ago. Listen to your heart. Still the ego mind. There's nothing more important than you realizing your divinity, your power, your healing, awakening love of your creativity, to your innovation, to your ability to create peace, to know love. So please, on this day, I mentioned before that it's Shakespeare's birthday, also his death day, by the way. I forget how many years later, 52, 53 years. Um, he wrote about knowing who we are as human beings, and that's what we all need. So, however you do it, get quiet and listen to your heart, please. And if you need help, if you need more direction, not some set bank of rules for civilized life, but if you need or want help, you can reach out to me. And if it's more than I can handle, I know who else you can reach. I know others to reach beyond me. But for this day, at this time, with what's going on again in this crazy nation right now, know that the best thing you can do to help is to know yourself, know your essence of love, and then act in that love. Be yourself in that love to everyone else. So until next time, I'll leave you with love and peace.